morning everybody, welcome to another vlog. My name is Mirjana Pasakis, oil painter and artist, totally in love with color. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful creative day. Now you might be wondering what you're doing in my kitchen, and today what I wanted to actually do for you guys is show you or share with you one of my most favorite things to drink in the studio. Now, the reason why I want to do this is because I keep having this conversation with some of my peers, friends, around what do you do during your break, or do you do anything special? And one of the things that I keep on sharing with everybody is that I like to drink a lot of tea. Now, one of my favorite teas to drink is Japanese green tea. I absolutely love it. I adore it. I love its health properties. I'm obsessed with the taste of green tea. And so I have it pretty much 4 or 5 times a day. I don't drink a lot of coffee. If I do have coffee, it'd probably be once in a blue moon. But tea is one of my most favorite drinks to have in the studio. So green tea is definitely a must-have for me. Now, the other tea that I absolutely love is the Masala Chai, which is the Indian tea. I have never been to India, of course. I would love to go one day. It is my absolute dream to visit both Japan and India. But in this whole experience of teas, what I was frustrated most of all is that you couldn't get this authentic, or what I would assume would be my version of authentic masala chai. In Australia in particular, the most common things that are being served in cafes and restaurants is a powdered, sugary version of a masala chai, which we call chai latte, which is basically powdered flavorings with milk of your choice. It's only a couple of cafes in the Southern Highlands area here in Bowral that I've found that use and make their own masala chai. So what I have been doing for the last couple of years is actually I have made my own recipe, my own version of masala chai, which I roast, I make myself, and then of course I grind and use when I feel like having masala chai. Now, the other thing that I am a little bit obsessed about when it comes to tea is the variety of different teapots. I've got a couple of favorites that I like to use, and it's really weird because depending on what tea I make is the kind of teapot I tend to use. And my common favorite that I do have is this Japanese style teapot, which is quite small, and it gives me about 3 of these little cups. Absolutely love it. I also have this incredible vibrant, again, another Japanese teapot in red, and then it comes with its own beautiful cup as well. As you can tell, I love color. It's all about color for me. And my other favorite, which you have seen me paint before, is this beautiful teal green or a blue. I've also got one that is a little bit more modern, and I probably use that one mostly if I'm making tea for a lot more people. And it's like a chrome polished round sphere type of a pot, and it comes with its own settings. I mean, it's got its, you know, milk pourer, it's got a sugar bowl, the whole kit and caboodle. So I'm absolutely obsessed when it comes to tea and teapots and teacups. I've had to downsize a lot of my cups because I've just been collecting far too many cups, and I've kept some of my favorites. Of course, for me personally, Japanese earthenware is just out of this world, and I have some of my favorites, but I'm absolutely obsessed with all those type of materials. So teapots are a definite must for me with tea. And what I've found is that once I make the tea and then I take time to contemplate in my studio, the experience of what pot I use and how I pair it with whatever tea, it just adds to this entire atmosphere and my connection to what I'm doing. So I never break that concentration from my painting, even though I'm having a break and taking a step back and looking at the painting with different eyes. I still feel like the process of my tea drinking adds to the painting process. But that's just me, so I don't know if that's everybody else. So what I'm going to do today is share with you my recipe for masala chai and show you the process of making it, grinding it, and I use a hand ground or grinding process, which is a mortar and pestle. I don't use any mechanical things. And then of course, drinking it. So let's get to it. So like I said before, this is my interpretation of my authentic version of a masala chai. Absolutely, I would definitely love to have the opportunity to go to India and taste that authentic version of what an Indian masala chai tastes like. But this is my interpretation of authenticity regarding masala chai in Australia. Now, how I begin to start the process of making this tea is I've measured out already the different quantities necessary per spice. And by the way, I have jars and jars of spices in my cupboard. I use and cook with a lot of spices. So if you don't have spices in your own cupboard, I urge you to buy just the necessary smaller amounts, and then you can build your understanding and knowledge on spices and kind of explore what else you can do with them from that point. But I'll put all the recipes and the measurements in the description below, and then you guys can experiment with your own flavors. What I found for me personally is, because I love a lot of fennel and I love cloves, I use a little bit more of these dry spices. What I also then do once I have my dry spice mix is that I add ginger or fresh ginger. I can also add fresh lemongrass, which are the kind of high note components to my masala chai. And if I really want to, then add like a black tea as well, or some kind of other floral tea, just to kind of kick it up a notch. Again, like I said, this is my own authentic version of it. You guys might like to find out what that is for you. So I'll first of all start with roasting some of these spices. I do like to give them a little bit more depth. I don't just throw them in their raw state. You can do that, of course, but me personally, I love to give them a little bit more of a kick. So I'll start to roast the spices that are more similar in size and texture and hardness together. So for example, the coriander and the black pepper, I'll roast together. I'll roast the cloves, the star anise and the cardamom together as well. And because I'm using cinnamon quills, as you can tell, I've got 5 of those, and these are quite woody and hard. I'll roast them separate, but before I put them in my roasting pan, I will break these up in the mortar and pestle so that they're a little bit more easier to roast in the pan. Now, the pan that I'm using to roast is a cast iron pan, and I find that cast iron pans are a lot easier to do this job with. I don't use any other pans purely because I have found that non-stick pans and some other pans emit these chemicals from their base, and they actually interact for some reason with the spices, and so I do my best to keep them as pure as I can. I do also have a green pan. I'll let you guys search into that and look into that. Green pans are basically non-toxic, non-emitting type cooking utensils, and so I do use them as well from time to time, but they can be a little bit finicky because they heat so quickly and so evenly. They're actually quite efficient. I kind of can't control the spices very well, and I tend to burn them, so I have resorted to going back to a cast iron pan. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit more information about the whole process, but let's start roasting the spices and start the process of putting together our masala chai. Okay, so once you've roasted your spices separately, what I tend to do afterwards is leave them to cool down a little bit. And can you hear, I'm hoping that you can hear the sound of how actually dry they are. That's what you want to get to. And the other thing that you want to pay attention to when you roast your spices is to just make sure that when they are fragrant in the pan itself, that to me at least, they're done. Don't take them too far over, because then they'll start to burn, and leave them to cool. It's really important to do that. Otherwise, what you'll find that if you're using a electric grinder, they can actually become a little bit bitter, which is why I don't use an electric grinder to grind the spices, rather a mortar and pestle. So once you've done your spices, leave them to cool, and then start to slowly grind them down to the consistency that you want to achieve. I have seen chai lattes in the past that are quite powdery. Even though they were handmade and hand roasted spices, they were quite powdery. I prefer to have my chai or my masala mix as such is a little bit coarser, a little bit more chunkier, and I don't really want the powder through it. So up to you what consistency you like. Me personally, I like a little bit more chunkier, but that's totally for you to experiment with and discover what I'm going to grind in my mortar and pestle is the cinnamon. The cinnamon quills that I partially broke down, because that's the most thickest, the most chunkiest, and I need to get them down to a desired size where I can then start to incorporate all the other spices. So let's go and do that first. Ground all your spices and have achieved your desired consistency, and whether you want it thicker or chunkier or more powderier, that's totally up to you. I wish we could have smell-o-vision, because the spices are just, I wish, I can't even begin to explain it. I'm speechless, and that's very rare for me, but the spices, beautiful. I mean, I could almost leave it as pot puree in the house and just have this house smell like cinnamon, cloves, cardamom, coriander seeds, pepper. It's absolutely divine. And by the way, this is one of my beautiful Japanese bowls that cost me an arm and a leg, and I'm sure it's a lot cheaper to buy them in Japan, but nonetheless, gorgeous smells, absolutely divine. So I'm going to transfer the actual mix that we've roasted, ground into a little glass jar. Good. Yum. I think we're going to have a tea. We must make a tea. The taste of, wow, the cloves, star anise, cardamom, cinnamon, the pepperiness, the spiciness of the pepperiness is coming through. Oh my gosh, okay, yeah, that's just delicious. I love the spice, love the spice. Ooh. So now that I've composed myself, that was really, really delicious. I mean, I absolutely love tea. I think tea, I love contributing to the whole energy, to the whole light mood, the color atmosphere of the studio, because even though I'm taking time off and I'm observing what I've done, I'm looking at new perspective, new way of seeing my work. When I take a break, I don't like breaking that concentration, and so I do make a massive point of continuing that energy through other forms of creative aspects, like making my own tea, appreciating the spice that I've gone into it, that I've put into it. So that aspect of painting for me is incredibly important. By the way, with the tea, you can use whatever milk product you want. I particularly like almond milk. It's just my body deals better with it. But if you like buffalo, cow milk, sheep, goat, that's really up to you. Sorry, I'm just a little bit taken by. I love chai latte. Absolutely love chai latte. Delicious. Thank you guys for joining me. I really do appreciate you watching the videos. I hope to see you another time. If you haven't already subscribed and you're new to this channel, please make sure that you subscribe and click on that bell icon. I do my very best to bring you as many new ideas and videos on art, color, and everything to do with the creative mind as much as I can. If you have any questions about the recipe today, please feel free to comment below. Happy to answer all your questions. In the meantime, happy tea making, happy tea drinking, and until we meet again on the next video, see you next time, guys. Bye.